The Channel Pro Network presents IT Nightmares with Justin Esgar and guest Matt Rose. Episode 5, Reboot of Doom.
What's up, everybody? I'm Justin Esgar, and welcome to IT Nightmares, a video series I'm hosting in partnership with the Channel Pro Network. Today, my guest is Matt Rose. He is the CEO, of Tech Rage IT. CEO stands for not Chief Executive Officer, but Chief Experience Officer. I'll let him tell a little bit about that. Matt, thanks so much for being here. Tell everybody who you are, what CEO, and what CEO you actually are, and what about your IT nightmare?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. Matt Rose, Chief Experience Officer of Tech Rage IT. Chief Experience Officer is different. We're a husband-wife team. My wife is the CEO, so I have a boss at home and at work. It makes it real easy. And so the Chief Experience Officer, we were trying to think of a C-level role that made sense. And really right now my role is to take care of account management, sales, and business development in our company. And so realistically, I think it fits because if our new clients aren't having the right experience or existing clients or whatnot, I have to make sure to change their experience. Didn't really want to go with revenue officer or anything sales, and really I don't do as much tech to be a CTO. So it's kind of where we landed on. So
Nice.
We're here in the Orlando, Florida area. So my tech nightmare, I mean, at least the one that's most memorable to me of recent memory, we've been doing this for a long time, was a few years ago. We had just taken on a new client and just, basic onboarding steps, getting our agent on all the machines and everything. And we just kind of noticed one of their machines, it was actually a Hyper-V box, hadn't been rebooted. And I don't think it was crazy. It wasn't like, 3 years or anything, but it was too much time. Server 2012 box was already out of support, but we're like, well, we should probably reboot it. And I think we needed it. I think the agent wasn't fully installed. And so we said, we'll reboot it, whatever, during the maintenance window, Wednesday night it was. And rebooted it. It did not come back. And I remember we had scheduled it and I was actually doing it myself. We were a smaller team at the time. And I'm like, and I'm sitting at home. And I'm like, it's not coming back. And, it's 9 or 10 o'clock at night, whatever it was there. I'm like, all right, well, we'll see what's going on. They'd already said, they'd be in the office early, and next morning called them and they were like, yeah, it's got some weird text on the screen. It's not booting back up. So had to head out there and realize that we had a corrupted boot record on this old server 2012 machine that's basically their entire livelihood. And we were probably 3 or 4 days on as their MSP. And all we did was reboot the server. Wasn't a great start for us.
No, that definitely sounds nightmarish, and I can tell you as an MSP also, like, those scenarios are never good when you first start with a customer and something already is, being problematic. So, you went out on site, you dealt with that situation, but what is something that like another MSP can learn from this lesson? Is it don't reboot their Hyper-V servers ever when you first start? Like, what's the takeaway here that someone's going to be listening to this going like, well,
yeah.
Why didn't you do it on a Saturday or whatever?
Yeah. I mean, I could have picked a different time. I think the other thing, though, is the nightmare was only just beginning when I talk about rebooting the server that night, because I went on site and I spent basically the entire day on site just trying to do rebuilding the boot record, trying to do whatever else. Of course, there weren't good backups we hadn't gotten any good backups yet. Again, that may have been part of us rebooting to get a backup agent on there. And I probably spent a good 10, 12 hours beating my head against this thing before I finally said, I got to rebuild it. And I think that the part I would tell people, and I've told my team since then, is sometimes you got to cut your losses. Because at one point I made the realization of, wait a second, this is a Hyper-V box. I can get in and get the actual VHDX files and copy them, off to a large hard drive, and so it still took time, but it took me a long time of that, and then being down more or less for most of 2 business days. And during that is when I made the decision, but it wasn't worth the effort. And I think the issue, it's like you could have done it on a weekend, still would have been downtime, still would have been panicking. But I think it's the lesson we've learned as a company, and I see, and it can be with servers, it can be with laptops. It can do things like Microsoft Outlook. Sometimes you just got to realize that the troubleshooting steps to fix it are probably going to take longer than just restoring from backup or having some way to restore from backup. So once I finally just copied the data off to a hard drive and wiped it and, reinstalled Hyper-V and just copied the machines back up, we were up and running in a few hours. And if I had done that to start, would have been a lot, a lot better.
Yeah. Cutting your, I feel that like a lot of MSPs, especially the technicians who work at MSPs, because they come in with this technical mindset as opposed to, let's say, a consultative mindset, they want to go figure out the puzzle. Why is the boot record ruined? What do we have to do? How do we fix that boot record? Blah, blah, blah. When in reality, kind of to the point of what your title is as a chief experience officer, is like, how do we make the best experience for the customer? And if that is, let's get the data moved and into something new, even if it costs us a little bit of money, that way the client is happy. We can solve the technical part in the background when they're not paying attention, if need be. That's a much better experience for the customer than you sitting for 2 days trying to fix the boot record, when you had your epiphany, for sure.
Yeah. It was, I think it's just something that you're right. It's hard. And it's why even to this day, our technicians, we have to kind of put timers on them depending on their level, and it's not just because we don't want them just spinning their wheels. It is the customer experience. And it's a lot easier to explain, hey, this weird problem's happening. I can sit here and troubleshoot this. It could be for days, which is a waste of everyone's time. Or I can restore from backup, whatever the term, whatever you're able to do, and you might be done for a couple hours. And it's a standard thing we've done now. Like, and we've got processes that do it a lot better. And it's probably saved, I don't know how many hours probably saved us since then by just saying this is the way we do things now. Like, we're not gonna beat our head against the wall.
There's a movie, and I'm doing this live. Yeah, I wanted to make sure the right movie. There's a movie with Eliza Cuthbert called The Girl Next Door, where Timothy Olyphant's character says a line that we say a lot at our company, which is the juice worth the squeeze?
Yeah.
And that's exactly kind of what you're talking about here. Is the juice of trying to figure out the technical components to make it work worth the squeeze of getting this stuff up and running, or should we just move the VX file over to another device? And even if I'm a big believer in that if you have to buy something for the customer and you're not going to charge them for it just to get them up and running to keep them happy, because I'd much rather spend $1,000 on a new computer, move that file over, have them up and running, because I know they'll stay as a customer for me much longer and I'll get the money in the long run, than them be down for 2, 3, 4 days. And then at the end of that, they're going to turn around. I mean, you got lucky on this one. They could have turned around and said, we've been with you for 3 days. You already lost us 2 days of business.
Yep.
You're fired, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Easily.
So there's definitely a lesson to be learned there. Well, Matt, thanks so much for sharing your IT nightmare. I did some Googling on you beforehand. I know you have 2 young kids that are close to my age. They both love, I think I read baseball. Are you going to be coaching them this weekend?
I don't coach. I sit there and watch the coaches have to deal with the other parents who yell. I just have fun watching them and hope that they have fun. But yeah, I will. I'm there. If I'm not at the office, I think I spend 15 hours a week at baseball fields just watching my kids.
I'd much rather hear you being at the baseball field than being at the baseball field while on your phone trying to reboot another Hyper-V box. So that'll be another lesson for another episode.
Yeah.
Matt, where can people find you online?
I'm around as Matt at techrageit.com is my email. You can find me on LinkedIn. So you can find me, search Matt Rose. I think my LinkedIn address is like Matthew A. Rose from years ago, though. But just Matt Rose. There are a lot of us, weirdly. I don't know why. Apparently, my parents are not creative in their names. But Matt Rose in the Orlando area and Tech Rage IT, you'll find me.
You'll find him. Matt, thanks so much. That's our time. Thanks so much for being here. And for more great content, check out channelpronetwork.com.
Don't miss out on the next IT nightmares. Like and subscribe before it's too late.